Welcome to the First Down Football Show. I am your co-host, Andrew Gradinskis.
I'm George Tatakis, and today we're going to be doing a mock draft, and we're going to be doing it going back and forth, each of us picking and just switching back and forth to, mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, and just as a disclaimer, to make it easy, there'll be no trades, and we're going to be doing a healthy mix of predictive, but also what we would do, so it's not necessarily going to be chalk or a lot of the things that you may have seen throughout a lot of mock drafts. But without further ado, let's get right into it. George, do you want to take the odds or the evens? If you take the evens, then you'll get the Ravens, I'll get the Patriots. If you want to take the odds, then vice versa. So,
I'll do that. Let's do it.
which one?
Um, I'll just take odds.
Odds? All right. Well, then you're on the clock here with the Las Vegas Raiders.
I really don't know who they're going to select here. There's not a surefire pick, in all honesty. No, they're going Mendoza. Mendoza's going to be that guy for them. He is a great player, a great leader, who you want as a quarterback. Showed up in crunch time in their playoff run and really put his body on the line for the team. I just hope coaching and, the GM put good pieces around him so his career doesn't get ruined.
Do you think there's any world where the Jets trade like pick two and then they have three firsts next year? So they have five firsts in the next 2 years. Do you think there's any world where they package three of those firsts to move up to one for Fernando Mendoza?
No, next
No.
year's too strong of a draft class for
Yeah.
QBs. Like, in all honesty, Mendoza's great, but I could see Marcel Reed or Sellers being a better overall prospect than
Well, Arch
Fernando
Manning's in
Mendoza.
that class too.
Yeah.
You played well down the stretch.
All right. All right. I don't I
All
don't know
right,
about
with
all
pick
that.
two. With pick two, this has been between two players for about the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's between Arvel Reese and David Bailey, and right now they're about as 50-50, odds on favorite to be the second overall pick. Um, if this was predictive, solely predictive, right now, I don't know if it's smoke, but I would have the Jets taking David Bailey, but because it's what I would do, I'm going Arvel Reese. I think he's the better prospect upside wise. Um, he has elite skills as an off-ball linebacker, and then his play strength allows him to be one of the best edge rushers in this class. Um, it reminds me of the debate in 2022. I think it was. Do you take Trevon Walker or Aiden Hutchinson? Do you take the guy with freaky athleticism, or do you take the guy that has the production and is more technically sound? Reese being that Trevon Walker type player, and Bailey being that Aiden Hutchinson type player. I'm not saying they have the same play style, but in comparison, as a ratio to what Reese and Bailey are, there's a debate and there's a long conversation to have. I think Reese is just has a little bit more upside, and the Jets aren't, in a win this season mode. So you grab a guy that can develop into a player like Micah Parsons. Not saying he's going to have that production, but a guy that resembles Micah Parsons as a prospect when he was coming out of Penn State.
Yeah. Arvo Reese does look like that surefire second pick, but I could see there being some like dis some disguise or talk about David Bailey going just because of how good he was as well. Which that whole Texas Tech defense was crazy
Yeah, I'd be comfortable
nonetheless.
taking any of those guys. Like they're all
Now,
good.
yeah. So with pick three, there's obvious the Cardinals need help at defense. They don't need a running back, but Jeremiah Love sitting there could be what they need, but I could see that going two ways. Being Jeremiah Love or it could be Ruben Bain. I think Ruben Bain is the best edge prospect in this class, and I think he will have the best NFL career. Ruben Bain can line up anywhere on that defensive line. A lot of people are like talking about the short arm length, like it matters. Looking at the metrics can only say so much because you have guys who have an insane RAS score, terrible players. You have players who have everything they could do Like, let's look back, Isaiah Simmons, he can play every position on the defense in college. Comes to the NFL. But I think Ruben Bain has the tenacity. He has that high motor to get to the quarterback at the NFL level. He won't stop if he gets blocked or double teamed. He'll keep fighting through. And he could change that defense and bring pressure to a D line that's been nothing, has played a zero effect on any offensive line.
All right, Ruben Bain off the board at three.
Do, do you not agree with that?
I think his range probably starts more 7 to 10. I think,
Really?
yeah, I think the Titans aren't big Bane people. I think as prospects, just the type of prospects there, Bailey and Reese will go before Bane. Um, the Cardinals could take. I think it's between Edge and I think Maui Noah's in play as well at three, which is a little early, but when you need to tackle that desperately, and he plays right tackle, and you can solidify your tackles for the future. And Bane has that report come out the other day about the careless driving, and
Oh,
well,
what?
I mean, it's a
Did you
real
see what
thing,
the
and we've
family released? The family said that we would just want to mourn. Don't put
no, yeah,
anything on.
I know. Well, I'm just saying that does that cause him to slip down the board a little bit? And then obviously the arms. I think 7 to 10 is more his range, but I understand. I know. I mean, there's people that have him as the number two player in this draft class, so I understand why he would go three. So these edge rushers are all pretty much interchangeable for me. At four,
I don't see them going love. They
I
have
think,
Spears and they
yeah,
have
I think
Pollard.
if it was solely predictive, Love makes a lot of sense. I think I'm gonna go with David Bailey though, just because I don't think the Titans are expecting him to get to four. But if one of Arvell Reese or David Bailey gets there, I think it'd be a no brainer, and you get a position that immediately comes in day one that you need and that can produce for you off the edge. You just traded for Jermaine Johnson, but other than that, you don't really have a lot of edge help. So solidify that front seven, grab a guy like David Bailey, and that positional value is gonna help your defense, who you just brought in a defensive minded coach and Robert Sala, over a guy like Jeremiah Love. And, he could be really good for the years to come. I just don't see how that directly takes your offense to the next level. I mean, you look at this last year with Ashton Genty, the Raiders didn't elevate their offensive play to the next level by taking a running back in the top six. So I think David Bailey's the pick here at four.
All right, now we got the Giants pick. All right, so there's going to be a lot of talk about the Giants going Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles is a good player. I think that he isn't what all this combine hype made him out to be. All these people that are like, oh, he can play so many positions, you can play safety, linebacker. It doesn't work like that. Look at Isaiah Simmons. As I said, in my eyes, the pick for the Giants here is Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs is a much better Sonny Styles, more in, much better instincts, much better player. If you look at his snaps by alignment, he had 146 in the slot, 241 in the box, and 240 deep. He can play all over the field, and the Giants have had an issue of linebacker and safety. And I could see he could be perfect in that nickel position in the box if need be on third and short. He can go everywhere and be that chess piece they need. And he's just a better Sonny Styles. Like Sonny Styles had an insane combine, and you look at how big he is. He was great on that Ohio State defense, but he wasn't Caleb Downs.
I'm going to nip this Sonny Styles slander right in the butt right now. Um, I mean, he was a safety that moved to linebacker and played full time linebacker and didn't miss a single tackle all season until the game against Miami in the playoff where he missed two. So two missed tackles all season, and it came in one game. I mean, when you look at the most successful linebackers in the league right now, like instantly number one linebacker that goes to your head that's off ball, Fred Warner. And you look at his athleticism and range. I'm not saying Sonny Styles will have his production, will be a multi time All Pro, but he has the play style of a guy like Fred Warner. And I mean, Sonny Styles, me personally, is my number one player in this class. Taking out positional value, I think he is the best player in this class, and I will die on that hill. And I mean, I was also a guy that was high on Isaiah Simmons, but Isaiah Simmons failed because he was a tweener. But Sonny Styles is not a tweener; he's a pure linebacker, and he has that ability to come in and affect. He has the ability to come in, play green dot for a line for defense, and I'm a high on Sonny Styles. But I think Caleb Downs also warrants the fifth overall pick, so I could see it going either way, and he's a smart player. That's something that Matt Patricia said, that when he gets drafted, whatever team he gets drafted to, he's going to walk in and be the smartest player on that defense. And John Harbaugh likes guys that love football. So Caleb Downs makes sense to the Giants at 5.
Would okay, if you're the Giants here, who are you picking? Styles
I'm
or
going
never mind. You
Styles.
said yeah, you said your top.
I'm going Styles.
Downs has always been that generational prospect who, even from his freshman year at Bama, people were like, he's going to be great. And there was never a point in his collegiate career where people got away from that idea and thought, oh, he isn't the best safety in his class. He won't be a generational talent that will change a defense.
No, I
But
understand that. I think safeties just fall. I mean, you look at Kyle Hamilton, who could have went 2 in that class. Derwin James, a guy who went at 16, who probably should have been a top 10 pick. And I mean, Downs is right up there with those guys. But I think, I don't know, I just think Sonny Styles is a guy that, and Caleb Downs is a guy that you
Mhm.
move around, but Styles is a little bit higher up on my board than Downs, um, just because of his production and his play style. But I digress. With pick 6, the Cleveland Browns, there's been a lot of rumors, smoke, whatever you want to call it, about them really liking Caden Proctor. I'm not super high on Caden Proctor. I would take him more in the mid 20s than early at 6, maybe if he's there at 24. I think he will end up going a lot earlier. Maui Noah's here. You have Monroe Freeling, who's been a riser during this draft cycle. But I'm going to go Carnell Tate. I think um, pairing him with Jerry Judy, they just don't really have anybody to throw to right now on the outside. And in a year that you're evaluating the quarterback position, whether it's Deshaun Watson or Shadur Sanders, you need to surround them with the best possible team. And worst case scenario, you're drafting high again next year, and you're selecting the quarterback of the future with a good team around him. They done a good job of building the offensive line this free agency. They are missing that left tackle right now. DeJuan Jones is there, but if you want to upgrade from that, that's a possibility. I just don't see the value there at 6, so I'm gonna get Carnell Tate, a guy who can step in-state guy, and be that number one receiver for this Cleveland Browns offense.
now, with this next pick, I'm in a tricky spot. There are two picks that I could see changing Washington's offense and making them a top three off. Jeremiah Love is the obvious one, but there is a side to me that sees Makai Lemon and knows that that offense would be unstoppable if they had Makai Lemon. So I'm going to say they're going to draft Makai Lemon and Jeremiah Love will continue falling. Because Makai Lemon, regardless of his athleticism, people love to say, oh, he's not that fast. Doesn't matter. He's a football player. He's a wide receiver who can get open in zone, get open in man, play the slot, and be a premier slot in the league without relying on, speed and where he relies on technique, which is something that you don't see a lot of in college. Mostly guys just out athleticism another guy, and that's how they win. You look at Makai Lemon's tape, and it's all technique. It's all understanding where the soft spots are in the zone and manipulating that. And he will be great on whatever team he goes to. They just have to get him the ball. And with, they had trouble. Debo Samuel was not what they expected, and they just have Terry McLaurin. They don't really have a wide receiver, too. Makai Lemon would be perfect.
Yeah, that receiving core is really bad right now outside of Terry McLaurin, who's coming off a down year. So I love the pick of Mekhi Lemon. I think I just when I see him in a Commander's uniform. I see him in that offense being an explosive guy that will really become Jaden Daniels' best friend. So I love that pick, Mekhi Lemon to the Commanders. He's personally my number one receiver. I just went Tate for the Browns because I think the fit's a little bit better there. And I think that's what it's going to come down to in the order of these receivers coming off the board. But I really like Mekhi Lemon to the Commanders there. With the Saints at 8, I'm not going to think very long about this one. It's going to be Sonny Styles. The positional value kind of causes him to drop down here to 8, but you get a rangy athletic linebacker who can cover and play the run and be that green dot linebacker you just lost to Mario Davis. Building up that defense with a guy like Styles makes a ton of sense here for the Saints, and I would run this pick up to the podium.
Yeah. All right. With the next pick, I have the Chiefs taking their biggest need, which is cornerback in Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane looks like a great prospect to be your, number one corner to put out on an island. He's a great guy in man. He's great in zone. And in the SEC, he was able to lock down those top receivers consistently. And the Chiefs, it's the main thing is necessity. The Chiefs traded away Trent McDuffie. They they let go of I'm sorry, I'm blanking. What's the other cornerback's name?
Jalen
Uh
Watson,
yeah,
yeah,
Watson.
Jalen Watson.
Jalen Watson as well. They have no one there, and they're going to need to replace that position unless they want to rock with Christian Fulton being their number one.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see as we get closer in the next 9 days to the draft if McCoy or Delane's going to be the first corner off the board. I could see it going either way with McCoy working out
I
his pro day and looking pretty good.
McCoy is so good. The injury, cornerback, you can't be in. You got to be top at. You got to be at your peak athleticism. You can't, have any injury bug holding you back. But if we look to last year, it was that same situation with Will Johnson, and Will Johnson didn't look bad for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean it is
So
concerning being out 15 months with an ACL injury, but um, yeah, I think a lot of people are taking away from Delane as well. And he is a true shutdown corner. And you look what he did there on that LSU defense last year, and he is what you look for in your prototypical number one corner. So I like Mansour Delane for the Chiefs. They get an upgrade in that secondary that lost a lot of big players this last offseason. But the Bengals, they're in a really tough position right now.
anything defensively they need.
Anything defensively, but there's nothing really top 10 worthy. I think this could be a trade down spot. Um, McCoy, cornerback's the only position the Bengals actually have right now and are solid at. Um, I look at offensive line. I look at guard. Vanguijuane is sitting right there. I'm going to go a little off the board here. They brought him in on a top 30 visit. Chase Brown has 1 year left on his deal. Going Jeremiah Love for the Cincinnati Bengals.
There we go. With the 11th pick here, I have the Dolphins taking Vega Ioane. Now, that name should say it all. You want your guard to be a big Samoan, and his tape, looking at it, was absolutely incredible. He can do whatever you ask of him, whether that's pulling, down blocking, getting to that second level, pass protection, everything is great for him. But this one part, which is his ability to defend against speed. But that can be worked on. And the Miami Dolphins have such a need for offensive line. Last year it was even worse because they have not drafted well offensive linemen for the longest time. They got lucky with Aaron Brewer, got certified, starter who can be a good center for them. And I think they just got to keep building the trenches for Malik Willis and allowing him to have any chance at thriving after they, had a fire sale of their whole team the start of this offseason.
Yeah, Ioane is my best offensive lineman with Maui Noah right behind him. I think he's a guy that projects to be a 12-year starter at guard, a multi-time Pro Bowler, a guy that you really can't miss on. I hate to use that term, but because no one's truly a can't miss prospect, but Ioane's as close as it gets. I think he's a really great guard prospect, and you look how it paid off for the Cowboys selecting guard last year early in the first round. So I think Ioane to the Dolphins makes a ton of sense to start this rebuild and strengthen that offensive line. With 12, Cowboys are a very interesting team. Jamal McCoy's there. Um, do you go with a guy like Keldrick Falk or Akeem Mesidor? I think Falk will go a lot earlier than people are expecting because of his size and explosiveness. And at worst, he's an extremely good run defender. I expect for the actual draft, the Cowboys to move up in the draft, package maybe 12 and 20, and move up to the Cardinals spot at 3 and get a guy like Arvell Reese or David Bailey. They brought both of them in for top 30 picks. But because we are doing no trades today, and I'm very high on this prospect, I'm going Jamal McCoy for the Cowboys at 12.
Now, for this pick for number 13 for the Rams, I'm stuck in a difficult position because Francis Mauigoa is on the board, but I just love Spencer Fano as a fit for the Rams. I think because he did very well with Utah in their outside zone scheme, and putting him with Sean McVay, that would be, I mean, the Rams got really lucky with Warren McClendon last year. He came out of nowhere and played really well. But Alaric Jackson and Warren McClendon aren't premier tackles. And with Stafford getting up in age, you don't want to risk any hits on him. So I'm gonna we're gonna give it to Spencer Fano here, and he'll be taking over Magnoa.
All right.
Is that crazy?
I think for me personally, I have Maui Noah ranked higher just because he can play true tackle. I think Fano projects more to playing guard or center. His arm measurement made it so that he can have the potential to play tackle. I think he needs a little bit of development. When you look at Fano, obviously had a great season, but his worst game did come against Texas Tech with an edge rush that was headlined by David Bailey. So when he's playing against that top end talent, you'd like to see him have a really solid game at tackle, but he's going to be a great offensive lineman wherever you have him lined up. And the Rams who are going all in, do you really want your season to rest on McClendon, who was a late round pick last year? Is that what you're willing to do? I think receiver's an interesting position. I know there's been a lot of talk of them trying to trade for AJ Brown or interested in guys like Mekhi Lemon who are off the board now. But I don't hate the pick of Fano at all for the Rams. For my Baltimore Ravens receivers here, I like Omar Cooper a lot. I just don't see him as a Raven. Jordan Tyson, the injury concern, I think the Ravens will not take a swing on him. They've been getting a lot of Kenyon Sadiq talk. Declan Doyle, the offensive coordinator of the Bears last year, selected Colson Loveland last year and was able to utilize that two tight end set. Kenyon Sadiq makes a lot of sense for the Ravens. However, I'm going to go Francis Mauigoa. I don't think the Ravens really expect him to get to 14, and if they do, I think they would select Mauigoa because of his ability to play guard, but also tackle. Rosengarten's coming off a down year last year in his second year. Mauigoa and Rosengarten are about the same size, so does one of them move into guard? There was that conversation about Rosengarten. Does he move into guard when he was drafted? They've played him at tackle. Mauigoa can be a Pro Bowl guard for you, or you can kick him out to tackle in 2 seasons if you don't like the way Rosengarten plays over the next couple of years. Stanley's really deteriorating on that left side. He's getting older. So Mauigoa is a guy that can come and be a true right tackle for you, but also fill an immediate need at that right guard position. You sign John Simpson, who's going to play left guard, and then Emory Jones, Andrew Voorhees, you don't want to leave that right guard position up for grabs coming in to training camp. So grabbing a guy like Maui Noah makes a ton of sense.
For the Bucks pick here, I have something a little out there. I'm gonna go Akeem Mesidor out of the University of Miami. A lot of people look at him and are like, why would you draft him? He's 25 years old, which is a crazy age to be drafted in the NFL, looking at all these players who are, you know, 20, 21, some even 19. But the scary thing about him is he's only been playing edge for 2 years. His first 2 years, he was at West Virginia and he was a defensive tackle. He gets over to the U, works on his game, gets lighter, gets faster, works extremely hard to get to that position, and has an insane season. No one before this season thought that he would be anything special. No one even thought he'd be a starter. But he proved to everyone that he can be a top starter in the league. And he performed so well for the Miami defense, being across from Ruben Bain.
I like it. I like Mesidor. Obviously, the age is a concern, but his production warrants a top 15 pick. And Bowles is a guy who's on the hot seat. Last year made it through and needs that edge rusher desperately. Mesidor makes a lot of sense for the Jets. I was debating this pick for a while. Um, they grabbed Arvell Reese at number two. I think this next pick is a receiver. It's going to be a little bit off the wall. I think this guy is going to go a lot higher than maybe some people are projecting. He's been getting a lot of top 30 visits, and I really like this pairing next to Garrett Wilson as a number two. I'm going to go Casey Concepcion, Texas A&M. He has, if you told me in 5 years that he's the best receiver in this draft class, it would not shock me. He has the explosive ability to run after catch. He can work in short spaces extremely well. The only knock on Concepcion is the hands, which makes me hesitant because you see a lot of the times that these guys come in and aren't true hands catchers, or his drop rate was 7% last year. They don't really project well in the NFL, but his ability to impact the game on special teams and on offense, and as a playmaker, you can line up inside or outside. You have Garrett Wilson there. I really like this pairing, and I think he could go as early as 13 to the Rams, to be honest. I like Casey Concepcion here at 16 for the Jets. I think it makes a lot of sense. Jordan Tyson, the injury concerns, some people may not be as high on Omar Cooper. He's on the older side as well. So Concepcion going at 16 to the New York Jets.
All right. I love Concepcion. I think he's lightning in the bottle. He's a great receiver. And, if the Jets would they won't need an explosive player to look outside of Garrett Wilson. He's a perfect one. With the Lions pick here, they need to go tackle. There's no way around it. You're not starting Larry Borum at left tackle for a team that's trying to make the playoffs. And there's two picks here that I could see. Monroe Freeling and Caden, or I'm sorry, was Caden Proctor already taken?
No, no, he's not already
Okay,
taken.
and
He's still on the board.
Caden Proctor. Both of these guys are surefire left tackles and have been great. And I just think Caden Proctor's a better fit scheme wise with that zone run offense, and that Monroe Freeling needs to get better at, getting outside and having better pad level. But once he does that, he will be a great tackle. But I think the pick here is Caden Proctor.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, the buzz right now is that Caden Proctor's floor is the Lions here at 17, that he will not get past 17 to the Lions. He is a Dan Campbell guy. I mean, he's 6'7", over 315 pounds. Um, he struggles a little bit in the pass game, but he is a mover in the run game, and he can go right into that left tackle position. You keep Penei Sewell at right tackle, and you now have that Detroit offensive line that you've been missing last year. So it makes sense. I agree. It will be a tackle. I'm personally higher on Monroe Freeling than Caden Proctor, but if we're predicting which one I think the Lions would go with, I think it would be Caden Proctor. Um, for the Vikings, I'm gonna go chalk here. I think, and it's kind of what I would do. It's also chalk. I'm sorry, Vikings fans, but I think everyone has been doing this for the last couple of weeks. It's gonna be Dylan Tiedemann. Um, I think it's one of those picks. Every year there's draft selections that you just always are selecting to the same guy to the same team, and it ends up happening. I think Tiedemann's this example of that in this class.
Got to replace Harrison Smith after all that
Mm-hmm.
time where he was that green dot for that defense. And Th- Thieneman he's a great prospect. He can play downhill. He can cover really well. He's a good player. And with Carolina's pick here, I could see them going two ways, and that being corner or wide receiver. But okay, I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty seeing who still is Gerard McCoy still there? Or no?
No, he went at
No?
12.
All right. Well, Avion Terrell will go to the Panthers then. I like
Okay.
Avion Terrell a lot. He's been great at Clemson. He's been able to mirror receivers every step of the way since his freshman year. Everyone has seen that viral clip of him at practice. And you look at him, and this receiver's going left, right. His hips are fluid turning, and he never gets away from that receiver and always stays in the hip pocket. I could see him being a great piece on the other side of DJ Horn, allowing for them to not have a or a cornerback two and a cornerback three who are unreliable and liabilities on that defense.
I like it. I think because of his size, you've seen him fall a little bit. But I think he's a guy that should go in the first rounds, and the importance of nickel cornerbacks have gone way up, and he's a guy that could play inside or out. So Avion Terrell is very interesting for the Panthers. I think another interesting pick would be Kenyon Sadiq. Surround Bryce Young with even more talent. It'll be interesting to see where he falls in the draft. I tell you, it will not be this pick to the Cowboys. This is a tough selection here for the Cowboys. We had them grabbing Jamal McCoy at 12. The positions of need, whether it's defensive interior or linebacker, I just don't see the value there right now. I'm gonna go with a guy. It hasn't been mocked. I haven't mocked this one before personally. I'm gonna have the Dallas Cowboys taking Jordan Tyson, wide receiver from Arizona State. You look at the Cowboys depth chart right now. They have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, but they're really missing that third guy. Pickens is only on a franchise tag, so it makes a lot of sense to look at receiver, especially with them falling down the board a little bit here. Tyson has the injury concern, but he should be ready to go. And a team that's going all in defensively, they struggled, but you address that with your first pick. You have another pick coming up in the second round. Make that offense go to a next level. You have all your skill positions figured out. The offensive line is playing at a high level. Really go all in with Dak Prescott. Jordan Tyson makes a ton of sense for the Cowboys, I think, and would make that offense truly hard to stop.
All right. Next up here, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is one of the teams where I don't know what they're doing, so I don't know where they're going to go in the draft. Like they're building the team out like they have a quarterback. They don't. I do not see them going quarterback in this draft. Next year is just too QB heavy for teams that don't get Mendoza to draft one in the first couple of days. I could see Ty Simpson going day two, day three, maybe, but I don't see anyone else scratching anything like before the fourth round. So the pick I have here for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Monroe Freeling. I think he's still a good tackle, and Broderick Jones isn't doing it for them at left tackle. And regardless of who's at quarterback, someone needs to protect them.
Yeah, I like it. He's a Steeler. I mean, he looks like he's gonna play in the AFC North. Um, Potentially for the Cleveland Browns. Here he falls to the Steelers. Super athletic, comes in at 6'7". needs some refinement, but again, super athletic and has tremendous upside. Um, for the Chargers, this is a tough pick. I look at their depth chart. Receiver is underwhelming. Omar Cooper's there. I really am intrigued to take Kenyon Sadiq here. Um, there's no offensive line that jumps out to me right now. So, and then I think also you lose Adafe Owe is a guy like Keldrick Falk or Cassius Howell in play here. I think you're okay at edge right now. Maybe you go there day two. I'm gonna go. This is really tough. I'm gonna go Kenyon Sadiq for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think surrounding Justin Herbert with as much talent as possible. Maybe they don't love Omar Cooper. The rumors are Daniel Jeremiah said that the Chargers are interested in Kenyon Sadiq. I think it's an interesting pick. I know they have Aronde Gadsden there right now. They signed Charlie Kolar, but grabbing the best tight end in the class at 22, who's a true pass catcher but also a fantastic blocker, makes a lot of sense for the Chargers here.
With this next pick, I see it going two ways. And the two deciding factors are what does Philly want? Do they want an edge like Keldrick Keldrick Falk, who's gonna stop the run, who's gonna impact them on the line of scrimmage and really set a tone for their D line? Or do they want a pass rusher like Cassius Howell, who can bend around the tackle and get home? They already have Nolan Smith, who's that quick edge pass rusher. I see them going Keldrick Falk, someone to help stop that run, and who is an insanely young and raw prospect who can really turn into something good if he's coached the correct way.
Yeah, Keldrick Falk feels like an Eagles edge rusher, just a guy that is physical and athletic. And like I said earlier, worst case scenario, he's a great run defender. But if you can get him with that defensive line, he's going to be facing a lot of single teams. So if you can one on one action against tackles, so if you can get him to develop, which I think they can, that Philly front seven is always good. Keldrick Falk could be one of the best edge rushers in this class. When you look at his pressure rate, it's not too far off from a guy like Ruben Bain. Obviously, the sack numbers are a lot different, but I am really high on Keldrick Falk, and I think Eagles should personally be the floor for him because I really do think he can be an impact on any defense that takes him in the first round.
Yeah.
Now the Browns. I had them selecting Carnell Tate at 6. I will let you know right now that this pick will not be Ty Simpson. Um, offensive line. There's no one that I really love. Blake Miller, I'm not a huge fan of. Um, guard, I like Keelan Rutledge a lot. I'm a big Emmanuel Pregnon guy. I'm gonna go. I think the Browns are a team that are rebuilding. And I'm gonna take one of the guys that I like a lot, a guy that needs time to develop because he's only played 1 year of football, and that was at Arizona State. I'm gonna go Max Iachinor here from Arizona State. Super freaky athletic guy. Played well at the Senior Bowl. Was a big draft riser after the Senior Bowl. He didn't start playing. He didn't start playing football till college, where he started at JUCO, transferred to Arizona State, played a year for Kenny Dillingham over there for the Sun Devils. I think Iachinor is a guy that they could sit. I know the Browns made a lot of moves for on that offensive line, and bringing a guy that can sit for a year, develop, and then be the starting right tackle for your team makes a ton of sense for the Browns. And I like Iachinor a lot. So that's the pick there at 24.
With the Bears, I see this going one way and one way only, and that's Cade McDonald out of Ohio State. Bears had a tough time stopping interior runs. And if anything's telling them who to draft, Just look at his Ohio State film. He was an insane run defender. I don't have, wait, let me pull up the exact stats. He was, he had a 91.2 PFF grade for interior defenders on run stopping. He was in the top percentile for every run stop category at the line of scrimmage. He's a guy who could change this defense because that was their Achilles heel last year, was trying to stop that run as they had an aging Grady Jarrett trying to play D tackle and being able to bring someone in who can get into that rotation early on those early downs. Maybe he won't develop as a pass rusher yet, but someone to be there for first and second and long where there's going to be a run.
Katie McDonald.
Yes.
All right, the Bills here at 26. They need a guard. I previously mentioned Keelan Rutland. She feels like a Buffalo Bill. Um, I'm going to go in a little bit different direction just because we've had someone fall a little bit further than I was expecting. I think Emmanuel McNeil Warren is in play here for the Bills. I'm going to go Omar Cooper Jr., though. I know they spent a second round pick on DJ Moore. They have Khalil Shakir there, but Joshua Palmer has not been cutting it. The whole Keon Coleman saga has not seemed to be resolved, but Omar Cooper is a guy that can be a number two to DJ Moore and can really excel at that level. He provides something that the Bills don't really have, and that's that run after catch ability. And he's just strong over the middle. Something again, like Khalil Shakir strong over the middle, but he's not Omar Cooper strong over the middle. So it provides another layer for this offense. You're going all in. This is the year to do it. Last year you fell just short. Go get a guy like Omar Cooper and really solidify that receiving core for your quarterback who's in his prime right now.
This pick right here is Emmanuel Pregnon. No discussion about it. Fits the scheme perfectly. Fits their needs perfect. They need a guard. They need to improve that O line. You don't know what's happening with Trent Williams, whether he's going to sit out, ask for more money, get traded. Pregnon allowed 1 sack and 2 hurries last year. And he excelled in that Oregon wide zone offense. And he can get to that second level and be what the 49ers need on that interior offensive line.
Yeah, I like Pregnon a lot. I think this pick will be offensive lineman for the 49ers. They need it so desperately. Edge is another way they could go just because they were like 29th in the league last year in sacks. Obviously, there was a lot of injuries there, but they selected Michael Williams last year. So I like going offensive line here. Pregnon makes a lot of sense for the Niners. The Texans is a tough team to select for. Um, when you look at their depth chart, they really don't have a lot of needs. I think this would be a trade down spot for Ty Simpson if a team wanted to move up and get him and get that fifth year option on him. Obviously, we're not doing that in this mock draft, so I'm gonna have them solidifying that defensive line even more, and I'm gonna take a guy that I really like, and I can see him being a Houston Texan. Where is he? They got past him. I take Lee Hunter, a guy that really was skyrocketing after the Senior Bowl. He was probably the highest rated prospect there. I know Banks was there as well, and people had Hunter higher than Banks, but that seemed to flipped over the last couple months, and I really don't know why. I don't know if it was prospect fatigue. I know these defensive line are really close together in ratings when you look at all five of them, but Lee Hunter's a guy that can stop the run and get after the passer, and he's going to be facing a lot of one-on-ones when your edge rushers are Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. So I like Lee Hunter a lot. That run defense needs a little bit of work, and Lee Hunter can fill that gap, but also get after the passer. He feels like a Texan to me. Book it, Lee Hunter at 28 to the Texans.
All right. This is, I was thinking Denzel Boston here. I really was. But if you're telling me CJ Allen's going to be on the board here for the Chiefs, I see them going him. They need, Nick Bolton has not played what he was paid. He hasn't played up to that expectation. And they have Drew Tranquil there, who is a good linebacker as well, but they need that third guy. And I can see CJ Allen, kind of putting the fire under Nick Bolton's ass and like make him produce, or he might get cut because of that big contract. And CJ Allen is a great player out of Georgia. He's a good, rangy linebacker who can make all the right plays for that defense and solidify himself.
And they lost Leo Chanel, so I think it makes sense. Allen's a guy who's a little undersized, but he's smart. Anybody from that Georgia defense has to be smart, especially to be the leader of that defense. And I think it makes a lot of sense here. So the Chiefs walk away with Mansour Delane and CJ Allen at 9 and 29. Miami Dolphins are a very interesting selection here. At 11, we had them selecting Vega Ioane. And now at 30, there's a lot of different ways they can go. I think Denzel Boston makes sense. This is kind of his range. Um, it could be a guy like Emmanuel McNeil Warren. They traded away Minka Fitzpatrick to the Jets. I'm going to go with Colton Hood, though. The Dolphins desperately need corner. Their new coach coming from Green Bay has built defenses through good corners, and Colton Hood is that and can be that guy that um, steps in and be that number one corner for Jeff Hafley, and they're gonna need to upgrade at that position. They lost Cater Cadeau, and they really don't have anybody else. I think right now their number one corner is Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who was a late round pick a couple of years ago. So you need to upgrade at corner and defensive back as a whole. I think Colton Hood makes sense. I could also see Emmanuel McNeil Warren here, but I'm going to go with the guy who filled Jermon McCoy's shoes last season at Tennessee, Colton Hood at 30.
If I'm being honest, I have always mocked and always wanted the Patriots to go Anthony Hill Jr. I think he's what the Pats need. I think he can be a great linebacker for years to come and really fit and be that Mike for them that they haven't really had. Well, they've had Robert Spillane, but in the Super Bowl, you saw that defense fall apart, not because of the D line, not because of the secondary, but because of the linebackers. The D line would get pressure, they would push back their blockers, resetting the line of scrimmage 3 yards back. But if no one can tackle the running back behind the line, what's the use? But Blake Miller is on the board. And right now, Will Campbell is going to be the cornerstone tackle. Morgan Moses has 1 more year left on his contract, and you really want to solidify your two tackles to allow Drake May to have, to not get injured, to be able to play in the league for a long time. And Blake Miller will fit perfectly at that right tackle position. Even if it takes him a year to get up to speed, he's your prototypical lineman frame for a tackle. And he's just a bit raw, but he can get to that point and be a very good player.
Anthony Hill is the
No,
pick
I said
there.
Blake Miller.
Oh, you changed it? Okay, Blake
Yeah,
Miller.
I was just saying how, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. I was thinking about where I'm going with this 32nd pick. The Seahawks, they only have 4 picks in this year's class, so they really need to make this one count. I look at edge. I have been mocking Malachi Lawrence here a lot to the Seahawks. I think it makes sense. Um, because you lose Boye Mafe, you don't know what your future looks like at the edge rusher position because of DeMarcus Lawrence. He may retire soon. But I think you lost Kobe Bryant last season to the Falcons this offseason. So I'm going to go safety here. It's going to be Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I think, you know, Mike McDonald loves that three safety look. You have Eamon Ware playing in that slot position, that safety position. McNeil Warren's just a rangy guy that you can throw back there at free safety and really, I think, fits this defense extremely well. So I'm going to go EMW here for the Seahawks to close out this mock draft 1.0. And we'll just get one last look at these picks here. Overall, not too shabby. What do you think?
A little all over the place, but that comes from two minds going at the draft.
Yeah,
But
I think there's a lot of good fits, but
they could be more realistic with trades, but that would take in way too long.
hard to do to people as well. But
Yeah.
that's our mock draft 1.0. We're gonna do one next week, official first down football predictive mock drafts right before the first round of the 2026 NFL draft. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.